Good afternoon. I'm delighted to be here with this webinar. I'm just giving you a little bit of background about me and just introducing some of my class, some ridiculous things that I do, like wear sheet togas and wigs. And my students are also doing a lot of active learning US history things in my room as well. I started flipping 5 years ago in 2013, and I was really approaching it from a lot of things that, problems that I needed to get solved, like my partner Joy McCord here is also saying. And I can say that flipping solved or at least largely fixed all of these problems that I had, and that's why I keep doing this. However, let's be honest, and that's what this is about, is you can kind of be this sort of the lonely mountain, or insert your metaphor here, and it can be kind of beautiful in this a place like this, but can be challenging as well. And I want to share some things that I've had to do and overcome, and how I think this can help you as well in a similar situation. So you're looking at the results of a survey I did my first year, or near the end of my first year. It was the middle of the third trimester. And I just wanted to know how things were going. May is when you start thinking, when am I going to keep going with this sort of thing? So the reason why the numbers down below don't add up to 100 is they could choose more than one option here. So this gave me some helpful feedback. And really, of course, it was this last bit here, getting a 70% approval rating for something that, and I was really on flipping 1.0 at this point. So to get 70% approval from 8th graders is great for anything. So again, that was my first one. For the past 3 years, in 2015, 16, and 17, I've asked this question. I've asked it in a Google form so I can work with the data a lot better. And that's going to be one of my focuses here, is the importance of this kind of a survey. So you see there's no blue. No one said that this was worse. I got sort of the okay but it's really that purple and green wedge that you want to follow. That was 2015. I've got over 75% approval about that. This one was a little bit tricky because for some reason I changed the survey a little bit. So this blue and this green are the same. So again, I've got that roughly 75% of approval. And then this is last year. It's a little bit lower. I have to admit, it was like 64%. That was a really rough year in a lot of ways that I can't really get into here, but found this was pretty significant results. So I've asked other questions as well. Here's just a couple examples here, just trying to get some feedback about how a different kind of system was working. I asked one year how different ways I could improve the videos, giving them all these options, and there was one really clear winner, but when I thought about it and even then followed up with some students, why did they want more words on the screen? Really, they just wanted things to copy. They just wanted to be able to copy things, and I'm not sure that that's not really what the videos are supposed to be solely about. So it can be helpful to know sort of what the students are thinking, and really to bust out of the bubble and really find out, like, what more could I be doing? What should I be doing differently? So this is one great way, I think, to do that. When you're flipping alone, you've got an audience right around you, been with you week after week, day after day. Ask them, ask the students how they think things are going. And I'll come back to that idea in a moment. But right now I'm going to switch gears to a couple of stories I want to share with you about the kinds of things that may happen, or maybe you're afraid are going to happen to you. And one was I had a flipping rebel. I had this student, we'll call him Darren, because I've never had a student named Darren. And he was an 8th grader who moved in, and I have a flipped mastery class. I do flip mastery assessments, and I'm not going to go into the whole system that I have, but I allow retakes. And Darren would refuse. He didn't pass most of the first few of these the first time around, because I'm giving them chances to retake, and he wouldn't do it. And it really came to a head one day in October. We were doing a role play activity about the French and Indian War, having students apply their understanding, which he didn't have, or he didn't have sufficiently yet, because he'd refused to retake the quizzes. And anyway, we're doing this activity, and he's trying to literally like rebel, like actually spark a, and he's not even far away from me. He turns around, he's telling the kids around, don't do this. He's not really teaching us. I've never had a student do something like that before. It really threw me off my game. So I'm going to pause that story, and I'll come back to the end of that. Next, I'll set up the case of the skeptical administrator. This was an event that had happened to me 3 years ago. And again, this kind of thing that could or maybe did happen to you, of having an administrator who doesn't really trust what you're doing. It wasn't our regular one. Our regular principal was off. He'd had a concussion, actually. And so we had this fill-in administrator. He comes in, it's the end of January, coming along with the year, and students were working on their own kind of personal choice independent projects while I'm at my desk conferencing with students, and then in between students I'm walking around, checking in with kids as well a little bit. So he says this after about half the class, says, "I'll come back, see you later when you're actually teaching." Oof. Again, just not that kind of thing that you want to hear. So let me tell you what happened with this. Is I wrote a long, no, I didn't. No, tempted though, very tempted to do this. No, I arranged, we had a sit-down meeting, and then I was able to explain, here's why I do what I'm doing. But then I was in my 3rd year, and there were some things he didn't know. He didn't know that the classwork was connected to the homework. I had to explain that out for him. That was not obvious to him. And all he really knew about flipping was, well, they're just watching things on YouTube. And I had to show him that's not it. So really just came to being able to have that time to just explain it. And back to the survey, that data, a lot of those numbers I was showing you earlier, when I was able to whip those out, that really opened his eyes. Admins, I think, really respect when students are giving approval for something. Now, that data also came in handy when I was talking with Darren's family, so I'll finish that story. I called and emailed right away. A little bit later, I met with Darren himself. And with both of them, again, I did the same thing I did with that administrator. Explained, here's why I do what I'm doing, which, again, you guys all know about right now. Now, in this case, there were things I didn't know. I didn't know why he would think retakes would be bad. He felt like it was like cheating or something, because he already knew what the thing would be. So we had to talk that out. And also, I didn't know that the past few years of his social studies teaching were very different kind of setup of just rows of desks and reading out directly from the textbook. He didn't think what I was doing was teaching. So once we came to that, we got an understanding. And again, the survey data, when I was able to show him, look, no one else in the past 3 years, you're entitled to your opinion, bud, but no one else has had this kind of reaction. Now, another thing that came from it, actually, it was the standard-based grading system I was using much more than the flipping. It wasn't really the videos. He was fine with that, even though it was different. It was just again, more the grading system I had rather than just the flipping itself. And, actually, with the administrator, I actually got a great review at the end of it, so yay. So to wrap up in conclusion here, I really just pushed, again, getting off that mountain, doing some kind of formal kind of survey at any point in the year. You could do informal ones like this too, to just find out, so if you're feeling like you're all alone, you're not. You're surrounded by an audience that you can check to. Again, I'd urge you to be kind to yourself, ask questions, at least some you're going to get some feedback, positive feedback from. Maybe we could talk about that a bit later. And I also would say use that data, again, in the ways that I was mentioning before. It can give you areas to improve, like about the videos, response to critics, whether they're small or adults. I use this also when I introduce to parents. I can use this survey data and head things off right at the beginning of the year. Just here's why I'm doing what I'm doing, and also here's how it's worked for kids in the past. And as Joy McCord was sharing too, right? Like, get this out there. We could use more data like this out in the flipping community. So again, just back to the mountain kind of concept. I think this is sort of sums everything up right here. Is yeah, we're alone in some ways, perhaps, if we're the only ones in our district, but we can find ways, and survey data really can help with this as well.